Nirodhamanutpadamanuच्छedamashashvatam Anekarthamananarthamanagamam Yah pratitya samutpadam prapanchopashamam shivam Deshayamasa sambuddhastam vande vatatam varam. Let us prepare our bodies by going into this posture. Folded hands above your head and looking upward, your mouth slightly open and breathing gently. Feel that you are in the Himalayas, facing Mount Kailash. You are looking up into the blue sky above Mount Kailash. And relax. Today we will practice mudita, joyful appreciation, followed by vimarsha. Let us begin by paying homage to all the Buddhas, the enlightened beings, those who have truly gone beyond the cycle of karma, the siddhas, the yogis and yoginis of all times and all places. And we request them to turn the wheel of Dharma, to give teachings, and to keep the Dharma alive in our hearts and in this world. Inhale deeply and exhale strongly 3 times. The first one strong, the second intermediate, and the third more gentle. Feel the relaxing effect this has on your body, on your energy, on your mind. Now bring to mind consciously people from your daily life who are kind, loving, talented, happy, or who are virtuous, engaged in virtuous activities, those whom you admire and who inspire you. And remember, no one is perfect. Wherever you feel someone has qualities, and sustain the clear, auspicious inner state. I am joyful by appreciating you. I am joyful by appreciating you. Consciously cultivate joy for their virtue, their punya, their merit. We'll do this for a few minutes now. Now bring to mind those who are truly known for their virtuous conduct, their charity, their love, such as saints, masters, great meditators, very generous personalities. And again, cultivate the auspicious inner state. I am joyful by appreciating you. Be happy, full of joy for their virtue, their punya. Expand your heart to them. Do this for a few minutes. If your mind is not concentrated, just gently bring it back and find a different person, a different saintly person. And now expand your mind to the enlightened beings, the Buddhas, the Siddhas, or the divine deities who are completely beyond suffering, who are outside the cycle of karma, of birth, old age, disease, and death, whose nature is complete bliss and wisdom. Expand your heart to them and again rejoice in their bliss and activity. it's important that they are active for the benefit of the world and others. So we rejoice in your bliss and activity. Again and again, bring this inner sense. Their punya is endless. Their virtues are endless. And their bliss is endless. I rejoice in your bliss and activity. And now, know that you too, in your innermost potential, have the same capacity, like a Buddha, for wisdom, compassion, and enlightenment. Your true nature is already present. It is like the sky, but it is veiled by clouds, so you seem not to see it. fully. Nonetheless, it is there, always, in all of us. Rejoice in your own virtue and in your true nature. Mentally say, I rejoice in virtue, punya, and in my true nature. I rejoice in virtue and in my true nature. Be joyful for this in yourself. And now completely relax into the present, the only actual experience occurs in the present. We will begin the second part of the meditation with 5 minutes of walking meditation. We slowly get up and very consciously lift our foot and place our foot. And we don't lose the awareness of the present moment as we walk for 5 minutes. If the mind goes to the past or the future, consciously bring it back to our feet, the way we are lifting the feet and placing the feet. Let us do it very slowly for 5 minutes, and then you come back to your seat. Slowly come back to your seat. Continue. Walking meditation is one of the best ways to balance the energies of the body and the mind. When you are in a state of irritation or anxiety, it is much better to practice slow walking meditation. Extremely beneficial. Now relax into your posture with your back straight. And first we pay close attention to our body and the physical sensations arising in our body. Pay attention to the tingling, itching, relaxedness, tiredness, whatever you find that truly arises in the present. Pay close attention to it until the next physical sensation arises. And name the sensation. If you find tingling, name it tingling, tingling. Now pay attention to your emotions, which are in the area of the belly or the heart. Be very honest with your emotions. If there is relaxed emotion, then acknowledge that clearly as ease or relaxation. If there is upset, acknowledge that clearly. If there is confusion, uncertainty, fear, acknowledge that clearly by naming it. Confusion, confusion. If you name it slowly, it will loosen up, and then a different state will arise, which again you can clearly identify. Do this for a few minutes. And now come to the level of your mind and closely observe the activities of your mind. Is it wandering? Then you acknowledge wandering. Wandering. You just acknowledge exactly what the mind is doing. If the mind is restless, you just acknowledge it as restless, restless. If the mind is bored, again you acknowledge it as bored, bored. If it is peaceful, you acknowledge peace, and so on. Exactly what the mind is doing. completely let go of all the past, all the future, and relax into the stream of the present. Totally relax. No activity is needed. Let everything be as it is. Your body, your speech, your mind. Just let it be as it is. You don't have to change anything. This way of just being and letting everything be is ultimately the way a Buddha exists. Whenever we can maintain this sense of being and letting be, there will be happiness. We conclude our practice by paying homage again to all the enlightened beings, the Buddhas, Siddhas, yogis, yoginis, of all times and all places. And we request them to turn the wheel of Dharma in us and in the world. And we dedicate all the merit, all the punya that we have gained from our practice to all beings. We don't keep it for ourselves. Everyone we are connected with should benefit from us. Here we are finished, and if you have any questions about the practice, any clarifications, please feel free to ask. You can write in the chat or you can speak. If you'd like to share your experience, that's also fine. I again want to stress the value of walking meditation. Most people think it is just some interim exercise, but it really isn't. It's something so precious. Many people who have difficulties with their emotions, they really benefit from slow walking, more than from sitting. Because when we sit, then our energies are agitated and we are sometimes a little restless. But when we slowly walk, it becomes very balanced and harmonious. Someone asks, I'm not clear on mudita for oneself. You see, we all have in our innermost being what can be called our Atman or our true nature, depending on the tradition in which we are. In a Hindu tradition, we might call it Atman. In a Buddhist tradition, we might call it the Buddha nature. In a Shaivite tradition, it might be called the Shiva nature. Everyone has this in their true being, or just pure awareness, if you like, enlightened nature. But we might cloud it through our life. We're full of emotions, we are full of karmas, following karmas, and so on. But since this true nature is really there, it's not just an imagination, it actually is there. We can rejoice in it. We can be happy that it is present, even though we haven't fully realized or recognized it. Also, everyone has virtue in themselves. Everyone, even someone who has done bad things, did so only from ignorance, but everyone has the capacity for virtue. So that too we can rejoice in, rather than beating ourselves up or putting a seal on ourselves and saying we are like this. You see, people put themselves in a box, believing we are like this only. So mudita for oneself dissolves that slowly by rejoicing in our potential and in our capacity for absolute virtue. Moreover, as I said, in our true nature, everyone has it. The worst criminal has it. So, if the worst criminal has it, and none of you are criminals, I hope. If you are, please report yourself to your local police station. But even a criminal has this true nature. How much more ordinary people, good people, people who have spent their life trying to do good. So you can rejoice in your true nature. Then someone says, if you wish to meditate on a particular situation or question, when or how would be the best way to do this? Here I would perhaps suggest to totally, if it's a very important question, to totally immerse yourself in practice for a longer period than you usually would. Not just 15 minutes, but to immerse yourself for 45 minutes. Till the mind settles automatically. Because you see, the mind is such that it can remain restless for 15 minutes and then it perhaps becomes more restless for another 5 or 10 minutes. But at some point, when you just sit, it actually settles if you have tried before. It really does. And then when it settles, clarity comes automatically. And that is when you can ask your question to your own consciousness. And then the probability of gaining a clearer answer is higher. So that is my recommendation. perhaps to begin with 15 minutes of walking so that your mind really can balance itself, and then to sit for 45 minutes till the mind is really settled, and then to ask your question. Then someone says, I have recently realized through honest observation of my thoughts that behaviors resulting from childhood experiences have made me, as an adult, averse to success and attention, and wanting to hide away, not trusting I am capable of achieving things. Is it possible from practice that courage can grow in the future and aid us to achieve and overcome these lifelong obstacles? Very valid question. The short answer is yes. Practice really can transform even deep traumas. It can. But I must tell you, only long practice. Like any area of expertise requires long training, when we have deep childhood trauma, we must practice for a long time. And I also mean daily sessions have to be longer. Whereas you see, some people have had this fortune of, being like King Louis from the Jungle Book, always just sort of happy and happy-going, and I want to be like you, and there's this very funny song. It always makes me laugh so much. You can watch it on YouTube. King Louis, I want to be like you, is excellent. So some people have had this fortune, and they perhaps are happy with 10-15 minute sessions. But those of us who have deep traumas, we have to practice for a long time. And in your case, I would even recommend, when this corona is over, to go for a retreat. If that is somehow possible, there is a place in northern Thailand where I have recommended a couple of our friends to go to, where there is a 1-month retreat. And it sounds, but it is really life transforming. The way of practice is almost the same what we are doing here. And in this 1-month retreat, you have to face all those traumas. And it's a protected environment, beautiful environment. And everyone is so cheerful. And when you go through that, you emerge in a transformed way. And of course, you then have to continue to maintain your daily practice after that, but not for 8 or 10 hours. It suffices to maintain it for 45 minutes. And that really changes something. And then someone asks, what do you mean by turning the wheel of Dharma? This is an expression, Dharma Chakra Pravartanam, from ancient India, where a spiritual teacher or a guru or a Buddha is considered, whenever they teach, they are considered to be perpetuating Dharma. So perhaps in modern English we would say, perpetuate the teachings, make the teachings go on. And we say in ourselves, but also outside. In the sense that may we continue to be attracted to the teaching of Dharma. May the teachings of Dharma continue in this world. It's an auspicious wish that our minds don't become bored of Dharma and that we just watch Netflix all the time. You see, that we continue to be engaged with Dharma and that the divine teachers continue to manifest in this world and share the teachings of Dharma. So it's just an auspicious wish, but the scriptures say this wish is very powerful. It is this wish that really uplifts us and produces a lot of punya for yourself. When you generate this wish, it's something very powerful. We soon have to conclude. Someone says, what is the difference between an emotion and restlessness? Well, essentially, we can say that emotion is something occurring here and in the belly. Ultimately, they're just states. Restlessness is a state, emotion is a state. If you take a step back, they are the same. They're just states. But if you go into the depth of it, emotion is really something that moves you from here. That's even the meaning of the word emotion in Latin, from movare, like motion in English, right? To move. So it is something that moves you from within. It pulls you in a certain direction, such as sadness or yearning or homesickness. These days, I am homesick for India. Because many people don't realize this. I grew up there. Most of you didn't. But I grew up there, and I really feel this homesickness for India. So that is an emotion, yes? Whereas restlessness can also be without emotions. You can be mentally restless. Your mind can be racing from one activity to the next without you particularly being pulled by emotion. So that is a distinction there. So now we have to finish. When you say walking meditation, do you mean focusing on the walking or on other physical feelings, emotions, and the mind? You do the same thing you do while you're sitting, but you bring your attention to your feet very consciously, lifting and placing. And while you're standing quietly, after you have placed the foot, you can pay attention to your body or your emotions or your mind. And then again, lifting, placing. And you see the connection to the earth really stabilizes you. So while you are lifting, you are paying attention to the lifting, and while you're placing the foot, to the placing. And then in the interim, that's when you can pay attention to emotions or to thoughts or feelings. And then again comes the lifting, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. Then someone asks the address of the place in Thailand. It is called Wat Chom Thong. Wat means Vatika in Sanskrit. I'll put it here. It means monastery, monastic establishment. Oh, sorry, I put it to Himaji. It is now Wat Chom Thong, and it is in northern Thailand. It takes 1 month though. It's also possible to do 10 days, but the 1 month is really the good one. Yes, let's finish here and see you soon.